Welcome to the October 2018 Northfield Area Chamber of Commerce General Membership Luncheon and the 2018 Northfield State of the Economy Address, sponsored by Franson Bank and Trust. I'm Tom Bornazzo, President of the Northfield Area Chamber of Commerce. At this time, I'd like to recognize the following distinguished guests here today. If you could please stand when introduced. Mr. Greg Colby, Northfield City Council member. And I don't think John McCarthy, the City Administrator, City of Dundas, is here. Mr. Ben Martek, City Administrator, City of Northfield. Mr. Brad Ness, Northfield City Council member. Ms. Susie Nakazian, Northfield City Council member. And Ms. Rhonda Pannell, Mayor, City of Northfield. So hopefully I got everybody, so we give them a big round of applause, please. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Dan Scheffler with Franson Bank and Trust, today's lunch sponsor. Thank you very much. Ask you to come up and say a few words about the bank, and I think you're giving away free money today, right? Is that what I heard?
Almost free.
Absolutely. Thank you, Todd. Thank you for your staff for everything you do on the economic front, growing our businesses on a daily basis. We at Franson have 35 locations in 3 states, so we also have a vested interest in the economy, the local economy, both from our customer standpoint, our staff, and making sure our communities are vibrant. So we appreciate all the efforts that you do. Recently, we got a preferred vendor status with the SBA. So every day we're working to make these little communities and big communities across the country better by providing that financing. One of the things that makes us different, if you notice on the back there, it's the buckets. Franson is owned by a business entrepreneur. So when we look at the businesses, we have in-depth knowledge on what we can do on a daily basis, what you face on a daily basis, and can bring that back to you. So thank you. On your table, I put some bottle openers, so depending on the sort of debt and the economy, you can sell the bottle opener for you. It might be. So thank you, Don. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you can fill the bucket with, some of you probably like beer, and some of you like me like Pepsi or Diet Coke, and then you use your bottle opener for that. So, rush right out. We only have a limited number of buckets, but they are available. Thanks, Dan, for that. Fall Gala is only 9 days away. It's Friday, November 2nd. Starting at 6 p.m. at the Grand Event Center. There are still opportunities to sign up and attend, sponsor, or donate silent live auction items, or contribute contributions to the Wall of Wine. There'll be a dinner, silent live auction items, music provided by the Over and Back Band. Individual tickets cost $65, can be purchased online at northfieldchamber.com/Fall Gala, or by calling the office at 507-645-5604. We still have sponsorship opportunities available as well, many of which include reserved tables and tickets for the event. This is the biggest fundraiser the Chamber hosts during the year, and the money raised goes to keep the lights on, phone lines open, computers running, and staff paid. So see Jean, Lisa, or myself if you have any questions. Come be part of the premier social event in Northfield. All right. Upcoming events, look for information concerning 2 upcoming events, which is Small Business Saturday on November 24th, and the 20th Annual Winter Walk Celebration on Thursday, December 6th. And in addition, we'll be sending out nomination forms for the 2019 Northfield Area Chamber of Commerce Business and Business Person of the Year in the next few weeks. Let me see, do we have any former Business of the Year award winners or Business of the Year here in the audience? Anyway, back to you. Can you stand up, please? Those who've been recognized in the past. So So please take a moment to nominate a deserving business or business person of the year. This year will be the 50th anniversary of the first Northfield Business of the Year award recipient, Right-Way Packaging. The 2018-19 membership directory, I'm excited to announce we've printed the Northfield Area Chamber membership directory, an official guidebook. Copies will be distributed to all membership in the next few weeks, and we want to thank the ambassadors for assisting in this project. A special thanks to all the advertisers in the directory. They made it possible for us to produce this important publication. Please use the directory and support your fellow members as much as possible. It should be your first choice for purchasing goods and services. And I brought some of the directories along and back, so they're available for you if you'd like to pick one of those up. All right, enjoy your lunch. We'll start the program in a few minutes. Thanks.
So I want to take a moment to not just steal Todd's thunder, right, that he did earlier, but to recognize my council colleagues that are in there. Could you just stand and remain standing? All right, it's always a pleasure to serve alongside some really incredible people in our community, and these are three of the great ones that I get to sit with on council. So please standing. Now I want all of our city staff that are in here. Could you please stand? We can't do anything without these folks. They're awesome, and just so appreciate their willingness to be here in our community and work for all of us. Now I want all of our board and commission members to stand. Britt Ackerman, she's our EDA president. Daniel Holleran, Dave Istendahl, who am I missing? Is there anybody else? No? Not right now? Awesome, great. So together we make a great team to actually move things forward in our community. Now I want anybody that's ever served on a board and commission member, or been a board and commission member in the past, please stand. All right, come on, Brett. You served on the Ice Arena Advisory. So all of us, it takes a team really to move initiatives, our community forward all together. And so I just really want to say thank you to all of you that are standing, because it's never just one person that moves the community, it's all of us together, including all of you that are still seated there at the table. And we are recruiting for board and commission members, all of you that are still seated. Please put in an application. Thanks so much, you guys.
That was good.
There was a problem in there somewhere. So again, welcome to the first ever State of the Economy presentation. So this event would not have been possible without the assistance and coordination of the Northfield Chamber of Commerce. So thank you to Todd, to Lisa, and to Jean Bartho. Really appreciate your service to our business community here in Northfield. And thank you to all of you for making the time to attend our event as we focus on Northfield, a community that's economically thriving. This afternoon, you will hear a presentation from City Administrator Ben Martig and Economic Development Coordinator Nate Carlson on the proposed 2019 city levy and budget, as well as a brief synopsis on the upcoming referendum for the Civic Center and current development projects occurring throughout the city. Growing the tax base is one of the goals that the City Council and Economic Development Authority have identified as a means to keep our tax rate lower for residents and businesses in order to provide excellent city services. Development projects, like the projects Mr. Carlson will present, are a prime example of how we can continue to build on our strengths as a business community and to work to be proactive and business-friendly in order to provide business-friendly to ensure that we can achieve tax-based growth. Additionally, as a destination and tourism community, Northfield can invest in opportunities like the Civic Center to improve the quality of life and create a tool that will stimulate further economic activity and growth. By ensuring that we maximize our existing community assets, we will also strategically position our community for not only future smart growth opportunities, but also a favorable environment for future business opportunities, which in turn will lead to recurrent wins for our community. Ultimately, we are working towards a community that's open, safe, and welcoming, that values its world-class colleges, historic riverfront downtown, vibrant culture, celebrated arts, strong economy, and excellent quality of life. We certainly have a lot to be thankful for, but we can be better. And that starts right here with all of us, and with this focus on creating a community that's economically thriving. Thank you so much for being here today.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nate Carlson. I'm the Economic Development Coordinator for the city. I'm celebrating almost 2 years here in December, but I've been in the Northfield area for the last 7 years. I'm a late grad, and I interned for the city when I was in LA. And I also live in the community downtown. As a development staff, one of the things I can assist with in the business community is business expansion financing. I'll give an example of one project we did this past summer regarding that. Workforce development networks, navigating city code, business incentives, and hospital networks. As far as EDA activity, this past year we provided 3 micro grants to the Northfield Yarn, Northfield Physical Therapy, and Hotspot Music. These 3 projects are examples of ways in which the EDA can provide a small amount of financing that can leverage some big projects. For example, the Northfield Yarn did a large business remodeling where Cynthia took the business from the back of the building to the front, and it's really inspiring to see her business grow. This past summer into the fall, the city and DEA are part of a tax increment financing plan for Aurora Pharmaceutical. They're a large veterinary pharmaceutical company here in town. They employ over 150 people. The business is expecting a $2 million expansion project starting this fall and into next year. And with that, they need to purchase some city parkland, and with that, they also have some significant site improvements that need to be made, which enabled us to go through a tax increment financing incentive package that allowed them to recoup some of those costs over the life of the district. The family residence is $1 million memory care and assisted living project that will be occurring, hopefully breaking ground this fall yet, behind Target. They're local business owners, and they received a $50,000 EDA loan and a matching loan from Rice County. I believe they've been talked about in the newspaper as well. It's Kari and David Eliason that are doing that project. As we're all aware, I hope, Econo has shifted names into Family Fare. Significant remodel this past year, a $3 million remodel project. And with that, there's the addition of Betty Dave's Deli BBQ option and a Starbucks coffee counter. The Benedictine Senior Living Center has officially broken ground this past fall. There's 25 memory care units, 23 assisted living units, and 48 independent units, and that is located just directly west of the hospital. And they do have the opportunity, if the project succeeds going forward, that a sister project will accompany this project. The hotel is on its way to opening up here shortly. A very significant project for the city, as we're all aware, I'm assuming. With that, there was some tax increment financing, as well as an EDA loan of $250,000 and some other financing that the city provided for this project. The reunion project is underway, remodeling since last fall, and continuing onwards. A big project that Brad and his team are cracking at, so I wish them the best there. Farmers State Bank is a local bank branch. They are scheduled to break ground here yet this fall at down by the Atlanta facility on South Highway 3. And with the bank, they'll have 2 drive-throughs, one for the bank bank operations, but also a coffee shop is going to be located in there too. And alongside the state bank is a family dental project that will be located at 1521 Clinton. Highlighted in red, that's where the dental office will be, and then just adjacent is where the state bank should be. I wouldn't be a good Ole without talking about St. Olaf for a minute. The St. Olaf Ice Arena is underway and is making good progress. I'm trying to stay on top of all Ole news. But it's a great project for St. Olaf to maintain the hockey operations and everything on campus. But a big project for St. Olaf going forward. Key Lock redevelopment. The Economic Development Authority has just started to review previous redevelopment efforts that were started in 2006. The EDA commissioned a master plan for this area. And with the transit hub and the depot project still underway, EDA felt that it was an appropriate time to begin discussions again as to their possible involvement in this area. The QLOC is defined by South Highway 3, 2nd, Linden, and 3rd Street is how we talk about QLOC. So as we move forward, the EDA had a retreat just last week. And
what year did you grab that picture from?
That's a historic picture.
I believe it's 1965.
High-rise development.
Some of these buildings aren't here anymore. That was a good throwback to see the football on the quarterback club.
Look at the silence.
So yeah, as the EDA continues to discuss possible efforts for redevelopment, we'll keep everybody abreast of those developments. As far as 2018 building permit activity, currently there's 28 new single-family homes, totaling almost $7.5 million in valuation, 5 new commercial construction projects, $14 million, and 2 commercial additions and residential, 16 residential additions. The bottom corner of their picture is groundbreaking with the Benedictine building facility. So, with that, I'll be here afterwards to take any questions. I'll be handing off here to Ben Mark to talk about budget.
Thanks, Nate. A lot of work goes into this development, so certainly appreciate the department. We have about 6 employees full-time there, including 8 in our community development, planning, development, housing, economic development, building inspections, code enforcement, planning. A lot goes into that. We have Mike Harrison, our interim community development director, as mayor in the introduction. So thanks to Mike for that. I've been asked to talk a little bit about the budget with the timing of it as it relates to the economy, as well as talking about referendum question coming up. So you've heard that as well. Don't get into that. But first, if you picked up the newspaper a little deeper in the fold with all of the things going on, we did have an announcement where the permanent community development director was approved by the city council last night as well. We got the formalities of some of the final components happening, but taking over, I guess, on the interim here, Chris Simon, who used to be in that role until he left us. So Mitzi Baker comes from Rochester area. She's been there for 22 years working for Rochester Olmsted County Planning Department. There's also the Rochester Olmsted Council of Governments that does transportation planning as well as part of that organization as well. Her last position there was as the executive director. She worked in a number of roles over that period of time doing development planning, healthy community planning work, which she received a grant on in that role. The assistant director and then eventually the executive director from 2014 through the spring of this year, where she left the organization. And she's been doing some consulting work during this time period since then. And it's been our opportunity, I guess, that the door has opened for her and for us as well. So we're going to be welcoming Mitzi in. I think you'll find her very articulate and intelligent, a lot of background on planning. And I know she'll be working with a very talented team on continuing to deliver on meeting our goals. We've got a lot of strategic plan goals and housing and economic development. I'm not getting into a lot of that today just due to time constraints. constraints, a little more focus on the project side of things, but you'll be hearing more as it relates to Mitzi and getting more going forward as well to kind of carry forward some of our initiatives and big thinking that we have here in Northfield. So looking forward to that. Getting back to the budget, so we are kind of in the back end of our budget process. I would say it's a 6+ month process for the city. We're never really done with finance work in city government, but there's a couple of key points in our process you have to hit. One is our preliminary budget levy set by the end of September. At that point in time, your levy, your fixed dollar amount property tax levy can not go up after that point in time, can go down. The budget numbers can shift around, I guess, with that. But December is when we have our public hearings that will ultimately be adopted. Right now, with the preliminary 7% property tax increase that we're taking a look at, that would be at about $9.3 million roughly that we are looking at, so about a $400,000 increase. We're in that. That was the maximum levy set by the city council. They've been doing a lot of work with that. I would say right now we're somewhere in the 4.5% to 4.9% amount that we're looking at alternatives. The council could choose to go lower, they could choose to go higher. They'll ultimately be working through that. But I got some slides on that as our finance director couldn't be here today, but we're still working off of that number, so I'll give some illustrations with that and some of the highlights of some of the things we're working on from a budget standpoint. We also been doing an update on our 5-year rate study analysis that we've done. We have a 5 to 10 year capital improvement plans for under 5 years, over 10 years, including our utility funds. So we provide municipal drinking water, wastewater treatment, stormwater management under state and federal regulations. We have to manage stormwater, and we also are kind of pass through on garbage funds that we contract a single source hauler out, and we repass those costs out to the community members. So with that, the rates actually they've been increasing over the past 5 years. The rate of increase is actually a little bit lower on most of these, but water fund, we're at about a 1% increase for 2019, 1.75 for wastewater, and about a 5% for stormwater, and no change on our garbage fee fund that we have. I'll have a little bit more on both of these in a minute. Just to give an indication, a little illustration here over time, you can see the upper left-hand corner is our tax levy since 2015. As you can see, kind of incrementally going up. We've had some bigger increases in 18. You saw a bigger jump. That was part of an impact of the city doing a major compensation update, plan update that we did. We had a consultant. It took over a couple of years for that to get reviewed and implemented into place. I can tell you that I'm very confident we wouldn't be able to have attracted the finance director that we have today or this community development director had not that compensation plan been updated. And in our type of an organization, if you want good people, you want good things to be done, you have to be competitive. You don't have to be a market leader, but you need to be in the realm of competitiveness. So there's a cost of that. Council felt it was a wise investment. That was one of the, probably the drivers of some of the expenses that we've had. Tax rates over that period of time, upper right-hand box, have been going down. You know, tax rates is often a reflection of your total property value in the community. So as our economy has picked up steam and property values go up from a real estate standpoint, that causes the rate of taxes to go down because of that. So it's a little bit of shifting property tax values as our values within the community is a big component of that. I think our growth in the community through new developments a little under 1% going into next year. So we have seen new construction. Some of those things like the hotel those through tax increment financing, when that falls off of the TIF benefits in about 6, 7, 8 years or whatever it is, that will be going on the tax rolls as well. But kind of gives you an indication where we're at. I'm showing the 4.9% levy increase on the lower left-hand column. So again, you saw that jump in 18. We are looking at some incremental increases as well, about 4.9% right now with the staff recommendation. So on that bottom right-hand box, you'll see a median valued home. I wasn't able to get updated business numbers. I know the audience is a little more business focused, but I didn't get the business valuations updated by the finance director yet, so I just stuck with our residential illustration. But a $200,000 median valued home, it's between 200 and 250, but it's closer to the 200 in our community. We are seeing values going up, so factoring in the average increase of that $200,000 home within our community, you're going to see if we end up landing at that 4.9% levy, it would translate to about $55 per year or $5 a month, which is about a 5% increase overall. overall with that. We have other revenues staying pretty flat overall within our organization. So on the general fund, which is kind of our primary city operations, because our other revenues are pretty flat on that end, our property taxes kind of have to pick up that increase, the most portion of that. Just to give an idea of where we are at as a community from a city tax levy standpoint, this graph shows a comparable peer group that we've been using for a number of years. We're the green on that. So White Bear Lake is the only community on our comparables, factors in population, distance from Northfield, crime statistics, and other components within that, but basically we're very much on the low end of our property tax for the city standpoint, so we're very much on the low end. We did do some analysis though, like with our preliminary levies, we did some calling around. If we went to that maximum 7%, where would we be? We would move up. We'd still be below the average of our comparable cities, even with that increase. But we would move over some. Again, I think our recent discussions are probably more in that 4.9% amount, but we're still looking at that issue. When I talked about tax rates earlier too though, I wasn't able to get that data updated. Unfortunately, probably not a surprise. The state of Minnesota has been doing some updates on their system as it relates to valuations and tax rates. And that they've had some problems on the implementation, so they're a couple of years behind on getting that updated. So we have to physically call like county assessors, and it gets a little complicated. But anyway, if I had an illustration that showed the tax rate with the same comparable group, which I've done in the past with the city council, you'd see us move more about to the middle. The primary reason of that is that what we found is when we compared to other communities within this peer group, our commercial and property tax and industrial property tax values are lower in comparison to our communities of comparables. So because you have more users paying at a higher tax, commercial pays a higher tax rate than residential does, we have less tax base basically in the commercial and industrial standpoint compared to our peers. So it does push back to the idea of economic development. It's one of the reasons that it's a goal of the city council to try and grow our tax base, is to try and keep that property tax burden lower. Because as I like to say, if you kind of look at our comparables, we don't have a spending problem as a city, we have kind of an ability to pay problem a little bit. Now again, last time we did the data research, just like a couple of years ago, we were right in the middle, maybe slightly above the average. But did want to explain that a little bit since we're talking about the state of the economy. I think puts it a little bit in perspective. Jumping back, I talked a little bit about the potential impact from a property tax standpoint on the utility rates. Those rates that I talked about, if you spread all of those increases out, what does that look like on an average residential customer? You're talking about a $1.07 per month increase. So right now about $70 per month for the average residential user. So we go up about $1 on that. So we're not talking huge impacts even with that rate. Again, that includes us doing it. That includes all of our numbers in the 5-year capital plan. So we've had our public challenges. We've talked about, you've heard about it in our wastewater plant. It includes upgrades to that facility that we've been planning. It includes stormwater projects that we've been dealing with as well. So that's the impact we're looking at that issue. Just a few operational standpoint. Again, it's kind of a city operation. Really, labor is our biggest cost that we have as a component of our operations. And there's been a few areas where we've really felt the stress from an operational standpoint and providing excellent service for our community. And one of those is in police investigations. Mr. Nelson's here today. He's done some comparative analysis with the city council as it relates to the levels of investigators we have in our office. We're looking at adding another police investigator into the mix. So when you look at our operations, comparatively to some of the other communities, we don't have as many. We've had a lot of challenges as it relates to investigations within the departments, whether that's issues related to technology scams that are happening, criminal sexual issues. Research is very demanding. Follow-up on crime sex crimes that they have takes a lot of time and energy in the department. Mental health issues continues to be a major challenge and stress on communities across the state of Minnesota. And our officers have to deal with some of those challenges. Sometimes that ties into investigative work. So That's one of the areas. They have requested also a sergeant position. We're looking at that possibly for 2020. Now technically the council could still evaluate some of these positions, but we included that one in there. Streets and parks operations, we are very lean on the line staff as it relates to our maintenance, and you probably might be able to tell some of that when you're out on our parks, and maybe you notice that we don't always trim some of the trees up in our community as much as you might like to see, or shrubs or things in our park system. We have about 5 real hands-on-the-ground operators who are doing street and parks maintenance, which is a pretty light operation. So I've been trying to find ways to actually add 2 more as a starting point. Probably need more seasonals. But again, what are the priorities? How do you balance the cost to pay for those things and being able to put them in over time? So we're really looking at adding 1 additional street and park operators into the system for next year. It will certainly help. But we know there's still more work to be done. But we want our community to look beautiful. I think we have high standards on the aesthetics. That takes time and energy to do that as well. Communications is something we heard on the strategic plan. We didn't quite get it solved last year. Went back to the table, took a look at it. Out of a restricted fund, no property tax impact, through some franchise fees that we've been getting revenues on. We're going to be increasing that to a full-time position, so we're excited to see if hopefully it's get approved. We'll end up getting some more robust communications out into the community. Lisa's been helping out on the interim on the position, on the part-time. She knows how demanding that job is and the needs with that, so we're hoping to have a full-time position with the new year, just really focusing on communications across the department. For people who say you don't need that for a community our size, number one, I'd say it's already happening in some ways because it's spread out to all of the departments to have to take on that responsibility. Then it's a little disjointed, so you're kind of doing it anyway. And really the world's moved in the direction to expect it. I know the school district's been beefing up some of their communication needs, so they understand that issue as well. Building permit, one good thing about building activity within our community, we're looking at adding a half-time building permit tech to help in the processing and trying to move along a little more efficiency some of our building permits, help free up some time in our department. Got a lot of capital things going on, just a couple of focuses. We just authorized the purchase of a new pumper truck through our joint fire service partnership with our townships in Dundas. So we'll be getting that next year. And we're looking at a temporary project manager funded over 2 years through some reserve funds, one-time position, ends after 2 years to help initiate some of these strategic initiatives. I'm not getting into all of them today. We're really getting into that in any detail. It's probably a conversation for another lunch meeting, but that will help us really kickstart some of these projects and activities that we're working on. We are moving, this map shows a pavement management study we've been doing. We really are moving more and more. The world's moving towards more data-driven decision-making processes. So we've done an evaluation of our streets across the city, and basically the cool colors mean good, the warm colors mean bad. So if you see red, it basically means we have streets in failing condition. We're at, on a 100-point scale, we're at a pavement management PCI index of 74. What does that mean? Probably need Dave Bennett here to tell me within what that exactly means. But let's say theoretically that it's at an area that's kind of in that overall as a city fair kind of condition, good condition type overall. In order to maintain that, we're spending over the next 5 years about $2 million per year. In order to even maintain our index number, we would need to be spending about $2.8 million. So $800,000 per year more we would need just to maintain our road systems within the city at their current condition status. So infrastructure is expensive. It's going to continue to be a challenge for our community and communities across the state. So we need to be smart about our infrastructure when we build it. Be smart about being efficient, maximizing that infrastructure, and then finding ways to pay for it, being responsible on the maintenance side of it, like the staffing that I talked about. So anyway, this is just an illustration of some of that data-driven work that we're working on. Now on to my last piece of the presentation is the referendum. Cities don't do referendums very often, so this is a unique one. Some of you have heard this probably multiple times, but I'm going to use the opportunity to just kind of give an education on the upcoming election that we have here coming up. The Cannon River Civic Center and Parks and Recreation referendum for the multi-use facility for the community. Again, our vision statement, as the mayor kind of highlighted some of those, we really want excellent service. We have a welcoming community. We want to We want a vibrant culture and economy, and with that means kind of maintaining your physical assets as part of being responsible to do that. This is not a new problem. If you're not familiar, we do have a ice arena that's run by the city. In some communities, the school districts might run them, it might be a partnership with counties, those kinds of things, but here, Northfield operates the ice arena. It's in a substandard condition. It's really been in tough shape for quite a period of time. The ice itself is actually in very good shape. The ice system is very good. It's the event side of things where we don't do so well. Locker rooms are small. Bathrooms, we have one bathroom set, basically. We actually put a porta potty out in the wintertime for people to go out and out the side door to utilize that. Teams have to basically split up on their units when they have the breaks at halftime. So the coach isn't even with the whole team at the time that they're meeting with the players. We have accessibility issues in the stands. So there's a committee that worked on that for about 18 months. Brett chaired that committee, worked on that for a long period of time. And they sat on it. We had school district officials, we had business people at the table, we had users and operators of that. And they basically came back with a recommendation, which Brett has said this many times, he would have never guessed when he agreed to take on the job of being chair that the solution would be to build a 2-sheet arena that would have multi-use purposes to really broaden it beyond just ice, become a civic center. But that's ultimately where they landed. So basically, one of those arenas would be a year-round ice operation, and the other half would be half of the year ice, half of the year for civic purposes, where you could have conferences, concerts, community events, other types of activities, maybe some other limited athletic type of uses in the facility as well. Be a concrete floor, basically, is what their solution that they came up with. Why is that? Again, on the existing building, they looked at a few different solutions, remodeled the existing building, and I'll talk about that in a minute. It can't be expanded, it's got some added, doesn't take care of all the problems. They looked at a 2-sheet new rink, a 1-sheet new rink. The 2-sheet really has the economic impact of it. We looked at partnering with Olaf for a number of reasons. It didn't work out. We really worked on that hard, timing-wise. It didn't work out. There was a number of site challenges that we had. I think there are some misinformation rumors going out there that one side or the other side wasn't willing to do anything. That's not how it works. But we did our best, and it just didn't work out on that situation. I think that hits all of the alternatives that we primarily looked at. So there's a piece of land on South Highway 3 that's been donated to the Hockey Association that if this referendum were to pass, there'll be an agreement where it's actually given to the city as a commitment to build the arena. Land's valued at about $850,000, would be able to accommodate our on-site stormwater management. It would accommodate 2 arena spaces, as well as parking needs for that. And it also has the benefit of having land around it that has development opportunities for it. They've tried to market it for development, might be an opportunity for connecting those together as well. You can see the black line on the screen as well. Dundas is just down the road. And the Dundas Dome, and with that we were able to create a unique partnership too, where the communities came together and said, we've got a joint solution to this regional asset. What if we did a 0.5% local option sales tax that's outlined in state law? We're a local economy where the 2 cities really are tied together as it relates to our local economies. So Dundas and Northfield residents will be voting on this question for a local option sales tax. Both have to pass for it to move forward. We're expected to generate $7 million from bond proceeds that we have issued debt on the Civic Center multi-use facility, repaid over 20 years, In an additional portion of that sales tax, it's about a 70-30% split. 30% would go back to parks, trails, and recreation projects, capital projects, as each respective community determines. So in Dundas, they'll generate their sales tax. 70% of their sales taxes will go to repay through an agreement with the city, that debt. But they get to keep a portion of that they can use for their parks and needs there as well. Fred's probably disappointed that I still have the $3 million up on the screen, because these are all estimates based on sales tax growth. So we have other numbers that show that it's 5. Sometimes I think for the public, 3-5 million, you get up in the millions. Mine's a little more conservative, but there are projections that go much higher than this. So at this point, we're being a little more conservative on that. But
Just on an annual basis for Northfield, we had some Parks Board members here on the radio today with the mayor. I think Daniel and Mayor Pundell were talking about this a little bit, I believe. We're putting in about $94,000 a year into our Parks Fund. This would jump up to about $190,000 a year that would be used for our park system upgrades that we have. Could be athletic facilities, could be trails, could be playground equipment. Just as an example, a piece of playground equipment in our neighborhoods, which are getting old, are about $100 grand a pop. So those sound like big numbers, but it gets spent pretty quickly on that. In addition to that 0.5% sales tax, it's on state taxable items only. So clothing, grocery store goods are not taxed. They won't be taxed under this. One-time flat dollar amount, doesn't matter if you buy a $5,000 car or a $40,000 car, it's $20. One-time purchase at both in Dundas and Northfield, that would be a component of that as well. That's included with that funding portion. There's been some misinformation saying it's an annual fee. That's not accurate. Northfield residents also have a $8.8 million bond, proposed bond that would be repaid back through property taxes for the other component of the funding. So the Dundas would not have that, but Northfield does have that as a component of that. In addition to that partnership between the cities, there's also a major component of private dollars that are with that through naming rights and grant dollars that we're going to be getting through the city or be applying for, and then $3.4 million to be raised privately through the community. Really, if the plan is basically we have the ability to add a second sheet. If the fundraising goal is not met and they're not able to raise the full 3.4, the plan would be to build one sheet with the ability to add the second. You know, I'm optimistic they're going to go out and raise the money if they know that the communities have approved it. I think that's going to be an energizer for it. But ultimately, if it doesn't, that's what will happen. I have no doubt in my mind that eventually it would get done, even if they fell short, but they're working towards that goal. But that is a component of that as well. So Northfield, from a strategic plan standpoint, the arena and what to do with it's on the list. This is the solution. If it doesn't work, we'll go back to the drawing board to say, okay, what's the alternative? It's also falling in within our tourism strategy. It's a great destination community. Amateur sports tourism is a component of that strategy to bring people into our community for our great athletic facilities, to utilize those, but then also to spend money in our community when they're here. A lot of communities are doing it. I think we can do a better job of coordinating that effort, working together. So we've been starting to try and plant seeds with our associations on how can we do that, how can we be smart and strategize around that. So I look forward to working on that more. Going back to the property tax, the alternative solutions too, one of them is the major remodel, which is about $7 million. Does not require voter approval. The state sales tax idea does require voter approval. Just to give an idea though, the $8.8 million versus the 7 is going to have a pretty similar impact to the individual property taxpayer if the council chose to do that, to go back to do the remodel alternative. Then you're stuck with one rink, not able to add on to a second one on that site. It doesn't take care of some of the deficiencies of the seating in the stand and some of those things as well, so those are some of the challenges with that. The economic impact really comes with the two sheets. I know that Olaf, as an example, has said there are rinks getting built for their students on campus, so they're the primary users. When they're off on breaks or in the summertime, they're open to conversations as they get up and operating. Could potentially have 3 rinks going on those break times, possibly in summer months where we might be able to host tournaments, but we'll explore anything we can as it relates to maximizing the use of these facilities. Operating standpoint, I had some questions on this. Taking out our current debt on the building, we have a little bit of some loans that we've taken out for some energy efficiency improvements. By taking that out, taking out the principal and interest payments on a new facility, if you compare operationally wise in 2020 to 2021, if this were passed, going from the current rink to the new, we're at about $230,000 total expenditures on that operation. It goes up to about $442,000. So there is some economy of scales on 1 versus 2 rinks. Operationally, if you take that debt out, we're basically looking at a break even, at least in those early years when the facility's in good shape, based on the user fees that we're looking at some pretty significant increases. So the associations are saying they're willing to step up and pay a lot more money as part of it. The school district will be paying more. So they are contributing through that way, I guess, as the operations go. But ultimately, it's a little bit of a guess. We don't have a lot of revenues generated from new activities built into that. but we think that we'd be pretty much right at break even. Right now, we're about $22,000 loss estimated in 2020. That's again taking out any debt that we have, so that would be on top of that, be about an additional $136,000 that we're currently repaying on some energy efficiency bond things that we'd be taking care of through this project. So with that, again, probably wouldn't normally be talking about this type of things, is that we don't usually have these large projects that we're dealing with or special referendums, but the timing's right. There is some economic impact we believe that are tied with this, so I did want to have the opportunity to talk about the referendum as well. So that concludes the presentation. I don't recall whether Todd intended to have any questions from the audience or not with this, or how my time's doing, but certainly on any of the things.
I'm gonna ask a devil's advocate question, not because I'm Bill, but in the interest of community conversation, what's the strongest argument, Ben, that you've heard in the community, founded or not, against this project, and how would you answer it? Founded or not, there's just so much conversation floating about the project, so as you hear that, what's the strongest argument against, and how would you answer that argument?
I don't know if I'm the best one to answer this question. It's a $22 million project, it's a major investment for this community. So I think cost is just a big price tag shock. A lot of people ask, that can't be right, those numbers can't be right. We worked with an architect, we had local builders question the numbers, because that was some of their first reactions. They got the people to take a look at it. So there's some money. Now the second rink is really being funded largely in part by that private dollar amount. So really that incremental cost is being paid by that group. Do nothing's not a solution is part of my response to that. As I talked on here, a remodel that would get it at least with locker rooms that are a decent size, accessibility into the building for safety purposes because the entrances are small. Takes care of those issues, takes care of the bathrooms, again, where you have teams that have to share the bathrooms together with teams and with the public all at the same time during break. Those would get taken care of with a $7 million remodel. No expansion opportunity, the stands are still the same. So that's part of my response is okay, what's the solution? Because saying no or being skeptical from this solution is not an answer, because we're gonna be right back at the table as soon as the election's done, saying, what are we gonna do about this arena? So we're gonna be right back where it is. That would be my answer. Others might have other answers, but that'd be part of my response. So it is an investment. How do we maximize the facility? There's demand for this additional ice time. I've seen it happen. Marshall has been an example. They built a 2-sheet arena. The Civic Center purposes have been, it's been used, what, 363 days, or 343 days a year, excuse me, I think it is, roughly. The facility and a lot of the usage on the facility has actually been for non-ice related activities. They just hosted they're getting creative too, because they're trying to bring people in from Sioux Falls, they're trying to bring people from the Twin Cities out. A local fundraising group, a community nonprofit, just did a fundraising activity there. They held a billiards and darts tournament. They truck in all these billiard tables, they truck in all these darts, and they filled up the facility. I think the local nonprofit raised about $7,000 for this activity. They would never been able to have done that in another space. That's just a little example of them trying to be creative to do activities about that. So it's been done elsewhere, but that'd be my long answer to a short question.
Thank you.
I have a question. How about on the ballot itself, it says, I believe, 17.8 million, and on the presentation you have 8 million. How does that work? I don't understand the ballot question.
So the ballot question, this is not an easy solution to finance a project. If it were easy, it probably would have been done by now. So we're piecing together some different funding sources, private dollar sales tax, etc. We also have to have a question that's got to not be multiple pages long. So the city's public education that we do, we are held responsible for that information. So if we misinform and it's not specifically spelled out in the question, but we do something completely contrary to what we say in our public education campaign, that can be held against us as a city later. So let me start with that. So I've heard some criticism, of the referendum part is we have to meet the legal requirements that our bond attorneys are saying you have to have in there because there's certain words in state law that say you have to have these words in there. So there's in the Northfield version, there's $17.8 million that you referenced related to the funding of the property taxes, whereas on here I have 8.8 million. So part of it is, what we're doing on the sales tax repayment on that debt is we are gonna do what's called a GO pledge. So the full faith and credit of the Northfield taxpayers would be pledging that if those sales tax dollars don't come in, we will pay the bill. It gives greater confidence to the bondholders, lower interest rate because of that greater that we'll get. So the project's much more affordable by doing that. We've been very conservative on the sales tax projections. We've looked at our historical trends, and we're estimating about a 1% growth in our sales taxes over this time period. Pretty safe bet, I think, based on our community that will be there. So we took a look very closely at that, but that's why the number is different, because the property tax portion that you're truly going to be planning to pay from the property taxes is shown in this component, but we do have the GO pledge on that sales taxes, and that's why that's a higher number. Does that make sense?
Sure.
We can talk more about that later, Terry, or you can help me communicate that once we can figure it out in public.
So we just had a major storm here, and I've heard a lot of compliments, by the way, to the city and its cleanup and how quickly you've gotten to it. I'm curious, have you been able to put a pencil to paper on what that cost has been to the city for that extra time you've had to spend, or contractors you've had to pay to help do that?
Okay, that's not fresh off the top of my head. I know that Monty, who just left, and Dave Bennett, Mike, Mike's been paying attention. We've been collecting that information. Most of what we're looking at, I don't have the number, I guess is the short answer to that off the top of my head, but most of our costs are going to be basically labor time, that we have more overtime costs than what were planned. We do have probably some extra tree management costs that we have, so like these large root balls that we're picking up and taking care of, those the grinding company doesn't cover. You gotta actually pay for those. The grinding is basically covered for free. That's really where most of our costs is gonna come in on the labor. It appears that the state of Minnesota is gonna declare emergency and allow us to get the funding reimbursed, which would include not only our overtime, but some of our straight time that we have for some of our staff too. That would be tremendously valuable. I would say from a budget standpoint, I don't think it's gonna have a major impact to us as much as just our community impact of, it's a busy time of the year for our public works staff and getting ready for winter, so all of those things we typically have been doing, basically we're now a month behind all of that, and we may be able to catch up or not. And then just our individual community members, just dealing with life that's not usual because of that. But I do want to say too, like, what helps from us is it takes a community to really respond well to something like that. So our emergency responders, our city staff certainly were a part of that. The mayor's been very vocal in pushing, and myself coordinate our volunteer effort. It's really been, that's been so important to us on the private property, which is probably much more big of an issue than even our public issue, is managing these big trees and the expense of that and helping to clear it out. And I still think there's a need out there, not only in Northfield, but our neighbors and friends who are outside of our city limits too. So the good news from a budget standpoint, I don't have the exact number, but I can tell you it's not gonna break our budget on that.
I want to thank Lisa, the rest of the staff here at the town restaurant, the staff at the Archer House, who are in for hosting our membership luncheon today. Special thanks to Dan Shuffler and Cranston Bank Trust for being our election sponsor, and thank you to all our speakers today for providing us great information. Thank you for attending. Looking forward to seeing you at the next chamber event, and I know they'll be around for a few minutes if you have any other questions. Thanks, have a great day.